A very good morning. You're watching Rajya Sabha television and I'm Smriti Rastogi with breakfast news. In the next half an hour, we will get you all the latest news from national, international and sports front. But before we start our bulletin, a quick look at the top headlines. Madhya Pradesh's farmers' agitation turns violent. 5 killed in firing. Chief Minister announces 1 crore rupees compensation. Curfew imposed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi likely to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping on sidelines of SCO summit in Astana. India-Pakistan all set to become full members. Met Department updates monsoon forecast to 98%. Monsoon rains to hit the national capital by month end. RBI's monetary policy review today. Central bank likely to keep key rates unchanged. Makes case for a lower interest regime due to low inflation. And Trump claims credit for isolation of Qatar by Gulf neighbors. Says his recent visit to Saudi Arabia was already paying off. Straight to the top story of this morning. The situation in Madhya Pradesh's Mandsaur remains grave after the death of 5 protesting farmers in the firing. Following the incident, farmers across the state have called for a bandh today. The political leaders across the party lines have condemned the attack on farmers. Meanwhile, the state government has announced compensation and ordered a judicial inquiry into the incident. Here are the details. In the latest series of developments in Madhya Pradesh farmer strike, the mobile and internet services remain suspended in Mandsaur, Ratlam and Ujjain, and curfew has been imposed in sensitive areas. Appealing for peace to the agitating farmers, Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan announced a compensation of 1 crore rupees to the kin of those killed in the Mandsaur violence and 5 lakh rupees for the injured. Chauhan has also ordered a judicial inquiry into the incident.
मैं प्रदेश की जनता से, किसान भाइयों से फिर अपील करना चाहता हूं, शांति बनाए रखें। सरकार किसानों के साथ है, जनता के साथ है। कुछ लोग माहौल बिगाड़ने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। वो प्रदेश की शांति के साथ खिलवाड़ करना चाहते हैं, उससे बचें।
Meanwhile, parties across the political spectrum have condemned the attack on farmers. Taking a jibe at the government, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi tweeted that the government was at war with farmers and feeding them with bullets for demanding their rights. The left party, on the other hand, demanded an explanation from the Prime Minister. The JDU also condemned the attack on farmers. The Samajwadi Party has announced compensation of 2 lakh rupees for the kin of the deceased farmers. The Congress Party has said that it would support the nationwide shutdown called by Rashtriya Kisan Mazdoor Sangh.
निंदनीय है और ये एक इतना गंभीर प्रकरण होने के बावजूद भी शिवराज सिंह चौहान की सरकार और गृह मंत्री कह रहे हैं कि पुलिस ने गोली नहीं चलाई। तो गोली किसकी लगी? 3 लोग, 4 लोग, 6 लोग जो मरे हैं, इनके पास तो हथियार थे नहीं। तो आखिर किसने गोली चलाई?
At least 5 farmers were killed and 4 others injured in police firing during a farmers' protest in Mandsaur in Madhya Pradesh on Tuesday. Farmers in the region have been protesting since June 1st, demanding higher prices for their produce and loan waiver. The agitation by farmers has led to a shortage of milk and vegetables in the state. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Meanwhile, the farmers' strike in Maharashtra continues to hit the prices of vegetables. Farmers in the region have been protesting since June 1st, demanding higher prices for their produce and loan waiver. The agitation by farmers has led to a shortage of milk and vegetables in the state. In Pune's Agricultural Produce Market Committee, the inflow of vegetables and fruits was only about 50%, resulting in their prices going up by 3 to 5 times. Farmers, meanwhile, locked the offices of Talati in some villages of Kolhapur and Nasik district. Despite the government announcing a loan waiver for marginal farmers on Saturday, the agitation has continued. Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis has alleged that some political leaders are milking the ongoing agenda.
अभी कुछ लोग इसके ऊपर राजनीति करना चाहते हैं हमने बातचीत के लिए अपने दरवाजे खुले रखे हैं। ऋण माफी कैसी हो, किसके लिए हो, इसके बारे में कोई अगर सुझाव देना चाहता है तो महाराष्ट्र की सरकार उन सुझावों का स्वागत करेगी, उन पर विचार करेगी।
On to some more news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to meet on the sidelines of Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Astana this week amid growing differences between the two countries over a host of issues. This will be the first meeting between the two leaders this year after India boycotted the high-profile Belt and Road Forum last month, expressing concerns over China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. The two countries also have disparity over India's admission to NSG, which China is vocal about its stand to block New Delhi's admission into the 48-member group. The SCO summit, which is being held on June 8th and 9th in Kazakhstan, is special for India as it would be formally admitted into the China-dominated six-nation group along with Pakistan. Till now, China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan are the group's full members, while Afghanistan, Belarus, India, Iran, Mongolia and Pakistan have observer status. The Reserve Bank of India is likely to keep key interest rates unchanged during its bi-monthly monetary policy review today. RBI Governor Urjit Patel-led Monetary Policy Committee on Tuesday began its bi-monthly interest rate review. The central bank is expected to keep policy interest rates unchanged, but many lower inflation forecasts. The sluggishness in the fourth quarter GDP at 6.1% once again brings back the growth concerns for the committee. But experts say RBI may wait for July 1st rollout of the GST and assess the impact of the new indirect tax regime on inflation before tinkering with the policy rates. On 6th April, the Reserve Bank had left its benchmark lending rate unchanged at 6.25% for the third monetary policy review in the row, citing upside risk to inflation.
Nobody is expecting a rate cut as of now because we are on the cusp and that monsoon season is about to start. So obviously, first 2 months of the monsoon season, we'll have to see how the monsoon is this year. The expectation is, of course, normal or above normal monsoon, but it has to happen. And then only market is expecting that RBI will come out with some kind of rate adjustment. The inflation has come down, but the growth has not picked up, and growth has also come down. So this time around, the marketman is going to focus on the language which he is using.
Because the financial data and the other data of the government is suggesting that is a very comfortable data. Inflation and everything is in control. Whatever is expectation of the RBI as well as the government, that is in line with. So we are expecting as a public, as a market, there should be rate reduction. So there would be ease to the general public at large as well as the corporates.
The meeting of Congress Working Committee took place in the national capital on Tuesday. Taking a jibe at the NDA government, the main opposition party criticized the dispensation at the centre on several issues including the situation in Kashmir, farmers' unrest and the economic situation of the country. Expressing his concern over the impact of demonetization, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh said that the country's economic growth has slowed down and has hit the job creation. Meanwhile, the BJP government hit back, saying that the Congress Working Committee meeting should have worried about the party Vice President Rahul Gandhi.
जो बेईमान है, जिन्होंने गरीब, दलित, शोषित, वंचित के पैसे को मारने की हिम्मत की है, उनके पैसे पर करप्शन और भ्रष्टाचार किया है, वो डरें। मगर जो ईमानदार है, जो देश के लिए काम कर रहा है और सच्चाई के साथ काम कर रहा है, उसे डरने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। इन 3 वर्षों में हिंदुस्तान ने ये फलसफा देखा है।
Congress Working Committee, the highest decision-making body of the main opposition party, met in the national capital on Tuesday to take stock of the political situation in the country. Several leaders, including the party president Sonia Gandhi and former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, criticized the NDA government on several issues, including economy and social harmony.
सबका साथ, सबका विकास, लेकिन उसका बिल्कुल उल्ट किया इन्होंने। ये सिर्फ नारों और पब्लिसिटी की सरकार है। जो टेलीविजन में तो हीरो दिखती है, लेकिन जमीन पे जमीनी कामों में जीरो है।
Congress President, in her opening remarks at the meet, also hit out at the NDA government's Kashmir policy.
सरकार ने जो पॉलिसी कश्मीर के लेकर इख्तियार की है, वो कन्फ्रंटेशन और एलिनेशन की पॉलिसी इख्तियार की है। हमारे जवान रोज मारे जाते हैं, सिविलियन मारे जाते हैं, चाहे उसमें बच्चे हो, नौजवान हो। ये जो एलिनेशन की पॉलिसी है ये सरकार की, ये गलत पॉलिसी है।
The issue of elections to the President and Vice President of India also featured in the discussion at the CWC amidst attempts by the Congress to forge opposition unity on the issue. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh on Tuesday urged urged Punjab and Haryana to undertake joint efforts to resolve the Satluj-Yamuna link canal issue. He was replying to a question on Punjab Chief Minister Amrinder Singh's statement that the construction of the canal to provide water to neighbouring Haryana could trigger a revival of militancy in the state. Earlier, Punjab Chief Minister had warned that if the final judgment goes against Punjab, SYL will become a national issue.
मैं समझता हूं कि संबंधित राज्यों के आपस में बैठकर इस मामले को निपटाने की एक बार फिर से कोशिश करनी चाहिए। और जो हमारी जोनल काउंसिल की मीटिंग थी उसमें भी मैंने यही आग्रह किया था और इस पर सहमति बनी थी और आपस में सभी राज्य मिल बैठकर इस समस्या का समाधान निकालते हैं तो मैं समझता हूं कि सभी के हित में होगा।
And with that, time for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
अगर बायलैटरल क्रिकेट टाइज नामुमकिन है तो मल्टीलैटरल इवेंट्स खेलने का क्या मतलब है?
आतंकवाद और खेल साथ साथ नहीं चलता।
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट एक बहुत बड़ा इशू है और जिस तरह से क्रिकेटर्स पैसे बना रहे हैं उन इश्यूज को अभी तक किसी ने डील नहीं किया है।
उसके ऊपर सुप्रीम कोर्ट पहले ही बैठी हुई है। मेरा रिएक्ट करना मैं नहीं समझता कोई नई बात होगी।
देयर इज एन इंप्रेशन दैट ऑल इज नॉट वेल बिटवीन यू एंड मिस्टर मनोज तिवारी।
कुछ गलतफहमी हुई थी वो दूर हो गई है। तो ऐसा तो हो जाता है, परिवार में भी हो जाता है, बाहर भी हो जाता है।
Watch to the point with Minister of State for Youth Affairs and Sports Vijay Goyal only on Rajya Sabha television.
Unakoti, the famous Shaiva pilgrimage spot in Tripura, dates back to the 8th and 9th century. The name means one less than a crore. It owes its origin to an interesting legend that says Lord Shiva, who was on his way to Kashi, stopped here for a night halt along with gods and goddesses. Together their number totaled 1 crore. At sunrise the next day, Lord Shiva was incensed to find all the gods and goddesses still asleep. Cursing them to become stone images, he left alone for Kashi. Unakoti, apart from its rock-cut carvings, has an imposing Shiva head called the Unakotishwara Kal Bhairav. Other eye-catching works include 3 enormous images of Nandi bull that are half buried in the ground and a gigantic Ganesh. To this day, the logistics of these huge carvings remain a mystery.
Welcome back. Doctors from across the country took part in a rally in Delhi on Tuesday to demand a stringent central law to curb increasing cases of violence against them by kin of the patients. Around 10,000 doctors gathered at Rajghat with 100 ambulances after marching from 13 locations in the city. Here is a report.
The Indian Medical Association on Tuesday held a protest march in Delhi against atrocities faced by the medical fraternity, including increasing cases of violence against doctors. The association organized Delhi Chalo which saw the participation of over 10,000 doctors from various parts of the country.
उनकी मन के अंदर में मेडिकल के अंदर में जो वायलेंस हो रहा है, जो डर बैठा हुआ है, जो फ्री माइंड नहीं है, हमारे सिंगल विंडो रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं है, सिंगल विंडो अकाउंटेबिलिटी नहीं है, प्रोफेशनल ऑटोनॉमी नहीं है, हमें काम करने दो फ्री माइंड से, ये हमारा बेसिक मुद्दा है. इसके लिए हमसे बैठे और बातचीत करें.
The protest aims to address various demands of the medical fraternity such as capping of compensation, single window accountability with no criminal charges on doctors without intent to harm a patient, and single window registration of doctors and medical establishments.
हमारी डिमांड है कि ये स्वच्छ स्वास्थ्य सेवा हिंदुस्तान को मिलनी चाहिए. स्वास्थ्य सेवा का शोषण नहीं होना चाहिए. ये जो शोषण हो रहा है, ये जो सिस्टम चल रहा है, ये एंटी पब्लिक, एंटी पेशेंट्स है, एंटी डॉक्टर्स है. ये डॉक्टर्स पेशेंट्स का रिलेशनशिप खराब कर रहा है.
संगठित हैं आज हम और हैं हमारे हौसले बुलंद. अब नहीं है हम डॉक्टरों में कोई भी अंतर्द्वंद. हर सदस्य की मांगों का अपने मेमोरेंडम में करके समावेश, अपने अधिकारों की रक्षा ही है अब हमारा उद्देश्य.
The protest, however, did not affect services in government hospitals in the capital. Mohammad Fateh Tipu's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And latest from the weather update, mercury is rising by the day in the capital, and with it the annual worry of the power cuts. The Delhi government directed DISCOMs to compensate consumers against the unscheduled long power cuts. The heat wave has intensified across most part of the country as well. But the Met Department has some good news. It says that monsoon is likely to be better than earlier expected. It says country's annual monsoon rainfall is expected to be 98% of the long-term average this year.
North India is reeling under an intense heat wave. Many cities have registered their highest temperatures in recent times. Delhiites continued to suffer for the second consecutive day on Tuesday as temperatures hovered in the mid-40s. To make matters worse, high humidity has further increased discomfort. The weatherman has predicted dust storm or isolated light rains from June 7th onwards. On Sunday, the temperature in some parts of the national capital touched 47 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, the soaring mercury level has pushed Delhi's power demand to an all-time high. The capital's peak consumption demand touched 6,361 megawatt on Monday, the highest ever recorded in any city in the country. Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal held a review meeting with the Power Minister and Power Department officials and has directed DISCOMs to increase capacity to handle the pressure.
अगर 2 घंटे से ज़्यादा कहीं अनशेड्यूल्ड पावर कट होता है किसी इलाके में, तो उस इलाके के कंज्यूमर्स को उसका कंपनसेशन मिलना चाहिए. इसका प्लान पिछले साल बनाया था, वो हाई कोर्ट ने स्ट्रक डाउन कर दिया था कि एलजी से इसकी अप्रूवल नहीं ली गई. तो अभी सीएम साहब ने कहा है कि इसका पूरा प्रपोजल तुरंत आज ही एलजी साहब के पास भेज दें. और
In Uttar Pradesh, the temperature touched 46 degrees Celsius in capital Lucknow. The Bundelkhand region is the worst hit with mercury logging an average of 47 degrees Celsius. Punjab and Haryana continued to reel under blistering heat, with Amritsar being the hottest in 2 states at 46 degrees Celsius. Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch district, known for its pleasant weather, also bore the brunt of summer. Heat wave conditions prevailed at many places in Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh and Andhra Pradesh as well.
बहुत बेहाल होए पे हैं गर्मी नाल बहुत ਵੀਰੇ ਕਾਲਜ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਜਮਾ ਹੀ ਦਿਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦਾ एग्जाम करके आना पै रहा वा बहुत औखा भाई जी बहुत औखा वा
ईयर से भी ज़्यादा यहाँ पे यानी कि ये हिली एरिया है यहाँ पे इतनी गर्मी नहीं हुआ करती थी लेकिन लास्ट 1 वीक से इतनी गर्मी ज़्यादा हो रही है और उससे बचने के लिए लोगों ने डिफरेंट जगह पानी के स्टॉल लगाए हुए हैं अलग अलग जगह से फ्रूट लगा दिए गए हैं और काफ़ी जगह से क्योंकि किसी तरीके से जो भी लोग बाहर से आए हैं उनको राहत के लिए उन्होंने पानी लगा दिया ताकि लोग उससे बचें.
However, in what comes as a respite, the Met Department has said that the country's annual monsoon rainfall is expected to be 98% of the long-term average this year.
So, in view of the positive scenario for monsoon, we have upgraded All India figure from 96% to 98% of the long-term average for the 4 months of June, July, August, September of 2017.
In April, the IMD had forecast this year's monsoon rains at 96% of the 50-year average of 89 centimeter. With Anu Diwan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In Assam, over 1 lakh people were affected by floods in Lakhimpur and Karimganj districts, while 4 rivers are flowing above the danger mark across the state. As per the Assam State Disaster Management Authority, over 1 lakh people are reeling under the floods in the 2 districts, whereas 140 villages are underwater. Karimganj is the worst affected, with nearly over 97,000 people, while more than 4,500 were hit in Lakhimpur. Currently, 4 rivers are flowing above the danger mark across the state, including Dhansiri, Barak, Katakhal and Khushiara. The calamity has damaged crops in close to 400 hectares of land. And news from international front, US President Donald Trump has claimed credit for isolation of Qatar by its Gulf neighbors, adding the move was the beginning of the end of terrorism. Trump said his recent visit to Saudi Arabia was already paying off. Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the UAE, Yemen, Libya's eastern-based government and the Maldives have all cut diplomatic and other ties with Qatar, accusing it of supporting terrorism in the region. Qatar strongly denies the allegations. It is noteworthy that the Trump's recent speech during his visit to Saudi, the US president had urged Muslim countries to take the lead in combating radicalization. The speech is being seen as likely reason to have emboldened Gulf allies to act against Qatar. However, White House has insisted that it was trying to resolve Middle East rift with Qatar.
The United States continues to be in close communication with all the parties to resolve the issues and restore cooperation, which is so important to regional security there. I think that there is note that his message of toughness on terror finance and extremism is being heeded by countries in the region. But the U.S. still wants to see this issue de-escalated and resolved immediately, keeping with the principles that the president laid out in terms of defeating terror financing and extremism.
Meanwhile, the political storm surrounding Qatar is impacting life in one of the world's biggest natural gas producers and travel hubs that relies on food imports. Panicked residents have been rushing to grocery stores to stock up essential food items. This as trucks transporting food and construction materials were stopped from entering Qatar from Saudi Arabia. It is noteworthy that Qatar imports more than 40% of its food needs through Saudi Arabia. Qatar's stock market fell by more than 7% on Monday, though it recovered somewhat Tuesday. Meanwhile, flights were delayed at Qatar's Hamad International Airport. The country's flagship carrier, Qatar Airways, was forced to reroute Europe-bound flights over Iranian and Turkish airspace after Saudi Arabia and Egypt blocked Qatari flights from using their airspace. While Saudi Arabia says that now Qatar must take several steps to restore ties with other Arab states, Turkey says isolating the country will not resolve the crisis.
We want to see Qatar implement the promises it made a few years back with regard to its support for extremist groups, with regards to its hostile media, with regards to its interference in the affairs of other countries. And we have taken this step with great pain in order to make sure that Qatar understands that these policies are not acceptable and not sustainable and that they must change.
Körfez İşbirliği Konseyi üyelerinin kendilerindeki meseleleri karşılıklı diyalog yoluyla çözmesi en doğru yoldur. Bu çerçevede Katar'ın ortaya koyduğu soğukkanlı ve yapıcı tutumu takdirle karşılıyoruz.
And let's take a look at some more international news in Global Buzz. French police shot and injured a man who had attacked an officer with a hammer outside Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral. According to police, the attacker's motives were unclear. The officer sustained minor injuries in the assault. France is on high alert for jihadist strikes after a weekend attack in London. At least 7 civilians were killed and another 16 were injured in an explosion in western Afghanistan. The blast took place near the northern gate of Great Mosque of Herat. It was one of the deadliest attacks in the country since the start of the war in Afghanistan in 2001. Brazilian police have arrested two top officials close to President Michael Temer in the ongoing Operation Car Wash corruption investigation. Authorities arrested former tourism minister Henrique Eduardo Elvis in the corruption probe. Also, former Brazilian lawmaker Rodrigo Rocha Loures was arrested in a bribery case from executives of a meat packing giant JBS SA. And on to the latest from sports. At the French Open, unseeded Latvian Jelena Ostapenko reached the semi-finals of the women's singles with a shock win against former world number 1 Caroline Wozniacki. In the rain-interrupted match, the 19-year-old lost the first 5 games of her first major quarter-final before winning 4-6, 6-2, 6-2. With the win, she became the first teenager to reach the French Open women's semi-finals since 2007. In the other women's quarter-finals, Swiss 30th seed Timea Bacsinszky beat France's Kristina Mladenovic in straight sets 6-4, 6-4. The win puts the 27-year-old Swiss into the French Open semi-finals for the second time, having been beaten in the last 4 by Serena Williams in 2015. Defending champion Novak Djokovic and 9-time winner Rafael Nadal will play their men's singles quarter-final matches today after rain postponed their respective encounters on Tuesday. World number 2 Djokovic will take on 6th seed Dominic Thiem of Austria, while Nadal will meet Spaniard Pablo Carreño Busta in the last 8 encounter. England reached the semi-finals of the Champions Trophy after beating New Zealand by 87 runs in their Group A match at the Cardiff. Put into bat first, the hosts were propelled by half-centuries from Alex Hales, Joel Root and Joss Butler as they reached a total of 310 runs. New Zealand were on track in the chase until their captain Kane Williamson departed for well-made 87 runs, leaving the Kiwis at 158 for 3. Williamson's departure led to a batting collapse as New Zealand were bowled out for 223 runs in 45th over. New Zealand must now beat Bangladesh and hope Australia lose their match against England to qualify for the semi-finals. Meanwhile, in today's encounter, South Africa will take on Pakistan at Birmingham. South Africa cruised to a convincing win in their opener against Sri Lanka, and a win today will almost confirm their place in the semi-finals. Pakistan, on the other hand, were thrashed by India in the opening match. The Asian side would need at least a point from this match to remain in contention for the knockout stages of the tournament. And that's all we have for you in this edition of Breakfast News. Keep watching Rajya Sabha television.